So let's get to what's the second thing you want to know?
Okay, so I have learned from you the newsletters are very important, and I agree. I do think they're very
Mhm.
important from sales and discovery, and just having a constant touch point with my fan base, with my team. But what I found is that getting people to sign up is a bit of a challenge, especially if you're a creator who's already putting a lot out on, say, Instagram or TikTok. I get
Mhm.
pushback all the time that why do we need to sign up for the newsletter? We already follow you on the platform.
Mhm.
So
So
what
let me
what do you advise in that situation?
so let me ask you this question. Why do you think when you get pushback, and I get that they're saying we already follow you, why do you think they're hesitant to subscribe?
I think generally people feel like they have too many newsletters because
Mhm.
when you buy anything today, you automatically get added to every retail brand, So unfortunately, creators like you and me more so because I'm new at this, I get lumped in with this bunch of people who are spamming constantly, which is not
Mhm.
what I do at all and not what I would ever
Yeah.
do. But I think that that's where the resistance comes from. People are so overwhelmed with their inboxes.
What are you offering them, or what is the incentive you're giving them to sign up?
I'm
Or are you
offering,
just saying sign up to my newsletter?
well, just say sign up to my newsletter, and that's obviously a mistake and not working.
Mhm.
Uh, I do think that I need to offer them something, but that is a second challenge because I spend so much time creating already that I don't even know how to create any more and keep it special. But I do think that if I can offer a more special or a more VIP experience
Mhm.
or a deeper connection, that could be an incentive that would get people to sign up.
Cool. So I'm going to give you a couple specific ideas of how you can do that that don't involve a ton of extra work and effort, right? So the first thing to understand is there has to be a good reason for somebody to sign up to your email list. Both not only because of what you said, which is absolutely true. People are like, I already have too much email and I don't want to get spammed and I don't want like all this stuff, right? That's a real hesitation. And the other thing is honestly just the time it takes. People are like, I don't want to click the link and type people sit there on their
Right,
phones
right,
just
right.
flying by. They're like, I don't
Right.
want to go type. It seems like nothing, but it's a legitimate thing that people are like, I don't want to go to the website and enter in my thing and whatever. The other thing I would say is that as we're talking about this, what we're really talking about is people who really like you. They follow you. You have a large, like your following is much bigger than your email list. So I'm not talking about sort of new people and whatever. I'm talking about, for the purpose of this conversation, how do we get people who already know you, love you, trust you, whatever, to actually give you their email address, right? Which should theoretically be much easier than random people who you're trying to, who aren't already, you probably have super fans who are not email subscribers. And that's a shame. Like that's a missed
Yeah.
opportunity, right? So the reason why a super fan, so like let's dig into like why would a super fan not subscribe to your email list or newsletter? And it's because they don't necessarily see or think there's anything in it for them, right?
Right.
You need to be very clear about what you're offering to them through this that is valuable. And it shouldn't be that hard because they already know and love the stuff that you do. So all you have to do is make sure they understand that there's something they're going to get here that they don't get elsewhere, right? Because you don't have to convince them necessarily that it's good. They already trust you and know that your stuff's good. But if you don't specifically say that and point that out, if you just say, hey, sign up for my newsletter, they kind of go, why? Right? Like
Right.
I already follow you. Why do I need to subscribe? So a couple of ways to do that. So the first thing is and this actually works both ways. I'm a big fan of looking for ways to connect your content together so that it's different but related in the newsletter and on social. And what it allows you to do is actually drive both ways. It allows you to drive your social audience to sign up for the newsletter, and it
Uh-huh.
allows you to use the newsletter to drive people to it's basically an algorithm breaker or cheat the algorithm. Because imagine if you had imagine if the lists were the same, right? Imagine if you had as many email subscribers as you have Instagram followers. The algorithm wouldn't matter because you could all email them and go, hey, here's the new post. And they'd go in, and that would actually spike the algorithm, et cetera. But so one of the ways to do that is, and again, there's a lot of different ways to do this, but here's one example. You could shoot a video, let's say for Instagram or TikTok, and give me an example of like a video you've done recently or you have coming up.
I did a video about advising my 10-year-old on how to meet a little Indian girl.
Okay. Okay. So perfect example. And I can't wait to see that. I'm sure it's brilliant advice. So let's say you make that video, and I assume the video is basically you giving him a bunch of advice, and that's sort of the video ends with that.
Yeah.
Imagine if at the end of the video, you teased his response or his reaction and said you're only sending it to your newsletter subscribers.
Mm.
Everyone that watches that video and it's almost like a cliffhanger, right? This is what I mean by connecting content. Everyone that watches that video and goes, oh my God, this is really funny, I have to see what he says. You've now given them a reason to give you their email address.
Yes.
And vice versa, right? So you could also do it the other way, where it's like in your newsletter, you could say, hey, I recently gave my 10-year-old dating advice. Here was his response. Oh, by the way, if you want to go see the advice I gave him, go to this TikTok video or Instagram video.
Yeah.
So that's when you start to think like that, and that's one simple example, but you can see how building those connections, right? So you can do it with videos, you can do it with blog posts, you can do it with anything, and it doesn't have to be that much more work, because you could even shoot existing videos and go, you know what, I'm going to save the last 10 seconds, the last punchline. Like, you can create with that in mind, and you're going to start seeing way higher conversions. Even if you do it sporadically, like you don't need to do it in every video, but even if you did once a month, there was one video where like the follow-up, the cliffhanger, the whatever connected, I bet you'd see, I mean, it's again, like we've talked about this before, everything's an experiment and you see if it works.
Yeah.
But my guess is, because you're giving that clear reason for people to sign up, you're going to see a big uptick. And what's really interesting, especially in TikTok world, because you've had TikTok videos that go to millions of people who aren't even following you. If you imagine if your cliffhanger video happened to be one that took off and reaches millions of people.
Wow. Right.
If you get 2 million views, I'm going to do some really bad math at the moment, but like if you get 1 million views,
yeah,
and 5% of the people who saw it sign up with their email to see the cliffhanger, you just added 50,000 email addresses. Pretty wild, right?
Wild.
Absolutely. And I don't know that it's that crazy to think that 5% of people who saw a video they loved would actually do it. Some of them might unsubscribe afterwards, but a lot of them won't, to see the part 2, the cliffhanger. So that is absolutely something I would try.
Okay.
And see how it goes. The other thing is, by the way, you could even do that with stand-up clips, right? You do a stand-up clip talking about you do a stand-up clip about your mother-in-law, and you go, hey, want to see this story, want to hear the story about what happened when my mother-in-law did this other thing? I'm sending it to my newsletter only this week or whatever. Another thing you can do separate from content is basically like a contest or a giveaway, or again, some sort of incentive that's really easy. So if you went on TikTok or Instagram and said, hey, next week, I'm going to do, doesn't have to be Cameo specific, but a Cameo type video.
Right.
Send a message, or maybe I'm going to send 3 messages. I'm going to pick 3 newsletter subscribers, and I'm going to do a private message that they can send to their friend or their mom or whatever, their mother-in-law, whatever. But in order to have a chance at being chosen, you have to be subscribed to my newsletter. Little things that give people a reason to just, because especially with your existing fans, all you got to do is nudge them a little bit over, because they already like you. Oh, that'd be cool. I would love to get her to do a cameo for me or whatever. So once you start thinking like, what are little simple incentives I can give them? And ideally, whenever you're promoting your newsletter, you can mix them up, but there's some sort of small something. So it's not just, hey, I have a newsletter, sign up for it. You'll see your conversions go way up.
I'm gonna
Makes sense?
try it. I'm gonna try
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
I think the cliffhanger related content, I bet will work really well for you.
Yeah.
And let me know. Try it and let me know. Cause I haven't really seen people do it, to be honest with you, but I think it could be really effective.
I mean, we'll find out because
Yeah.
a lot of this stuff you really don't know until you do it. But
Yeah.
there is, I mean, the crowds that follow, they all do have email, are extremely tech fluent.
Mhm.
So I do think there's a good possibility this could work.
Yeah. You just have to give them a reason
Yeah.
and experiment with different reasons. And you will eventually come across the one that you're like, this works.
That's
And then you can just double down on that. Cool.